So it really starts from the big idea of subject matter. As soon as I decided to showcase the reflection of human life, society, and history, I immediately came up with this iconic image of triangle, which captures the entire world of opera. And I started from there. And then, of course, okay, that's the big canvas. And then how am I going to fill in all these small segments and stories within? And from there on, I started from the opposite way. I wrote a lot, all these stages and incidents and events that consist our life. And then started from there and then drew events and activities that happening in each section and segments, and then puzzle piecing started from there. Okay, this storyline should stay over here, or maybe over here, or maybe the left and right should be flipped, or maybe entire this chunk should be located over here. So that took me about a couple of months until I finally, okay, this is it. This is where everything should land. The origin of opera, is it has the meaning of labor and work and society. And so it already conveys the message of the opera is trying to tell. So I started from there, and if you get to watch the piece, you'll notice that this is very musical. Of course, it is not an opera musical way, but in its own way, it's very musical. And on top of that, I didn't want the audience to predict anything by the title, but it still captures the scale and epicness of it. So once you watch it, then you get it. Oh, this is why it's called opera. Starting from there, the similar approach was applied, in terms of design as well. First of all, if you look at the logo, it does look like the character within, like the one circular head and two bipedal like figures. So it really matched the shape of the character, and really wanted to mix up the letter so that people could think twice to understand what this logo means. And I always tag along with the opera word together, so people will be able to tell, oh, it's a logo and the opera word together. So that's how we designed the logo. So even before deciding to go to fine art school, I grew up as an animation cartoon fan. So I kind of knew that I going to be working in this industry since I was very young. And in the fine art, I was focusing a lot on the foundation of visual art. Like even before getting into the technical aspect of filmmaking or animating, really studying hard on the overall fine and visual art. So, and then that being said, I was focusing a lot on the subject matter, what I'm trying to say, really study a lot about myself, who I am as an artist and a human being. And then this message and approach I take, either art creating or filmmaking, started from there. And then all the subject matter I'm dealing with in the world of opera as well, like this inspirations from human society and life and death and all those things have been my long time subject matter I've been, using since I was studying at fine art school. So that's one thing. And then second of all, because I have this fine art background, I've been always interested in trying something new, try to think out of box and not really following the footsteps of previous animators have done, but with a full respect on this beautiful medium of animation. So it was more of a question of how can we push the bar of this beautiful, amazing medium of animation. So with that interest and passion, that it just naturally lead this into creating the opera. From the get-go, I was planning to make two different versions. One for exhibition space, so that there's no camera, it's just static, one angle, and you walk in, you become the camera, the viewers, because you are utilizing the space. On the other hand, we also designed the cinematic version where we utilize some film language, like zooming in and cranking up and down, and we rewrote the music for cinematic version as well. So that's just really for watching it in the theater or in your own device at your place. The storyboard stage wasn't like the storyboards in conventional 2D filmmaking. It was rather a one singular huge painting with every story in it. So it was a one singular drawing. It took me about a couple of months of drawing and sketching and writing a lot to come up with the blueprint that has all the master plan of everything. Because, this piece was so delicate, the planning upfront was critically important. So it was a lot of drawings, but as you can see, everything's happening simultaneously in just one timeline. It's not like linear, moving forward type of timeline at all. So, we had to come up with our own way to actually storyboard, which is more of a, again, one singular painting and drawing that has every element in it. More than half of the production was super independent without any money involved. It was a voluntarily collaborative work out of love and passion with really close friends and colleagues and fellow artists who really truly believed in this vision and the message of opera. So it was the work of love, of a lot of people sacrificing their nights and weekends, and even myself too. I had my day job, which is, again, going back to Tonkao's. I was directing some of Tonkao's projects, somewhat big and small. Because of that, finding time was the big challenge, and most of all, not having the tight deadline actually was the challenge. A lot of people will say, I wish I had more time, having this tight deadline. This opera had totally opposite problem. No one was losing any money, no harm done if I decide to, okay, I'm not making this anymore. No one's waiting. It was, I have to constantly self-motivate to not give up on this project. But the reason why I couldn't stop making was, again, the world, how the world was going. This pandemic happens, this what's happening in Paris, like this yellow jacket movements, what was happening in Hong Kong, what's happening in Korea, what's happening over here. All this like sadness and sorrows and despairs around us kept me ongoing. I had to just keep on going. This has to come see light of the day so that people can see this, bring awareness, and we can talk about this and hopefully make our life a little better, yeah.
I think, first of all, it's a very unconventional piece. It's not like, a linear storytelling piece. So we will actually like take what we learned from traditional storytelling, film industry, and to make everything looks cohesive and make sense. So yeah, one of the most important part, I think, is figure out the color and light. Yeah, for example, like for lighting piece, it was like a 4-stage, but we simplified it due to the story. You only need like a daytime and nighttime, and then after the big wall, the world was like that gray. It's all tailored to the story point. I think some part are like lighted up for you to see it more clearly. For example, in the night, like in the middle section, we want the school still to be lighted. So it speaks to the story point. All the students who just like stay there, like study all the time, right? So and also the bar area, you can see in the day it was pretty dimmed, and then at night the light was vivid, and then it become another world. So we hope the audience can recognize those differences along the storytelling. So yeah. Also, when designing the color palette, Eric was intentionally want to make everything symbolic and simple. So the world is divided. So we were using warm color palette for the left side, and then cool color palette for the right side, which like the first one represent the forest agriculture industry, and the right one was for the seafood, those modern factories. Yeah, Eric and I are both actually a big fan for those modern simple shapes. If you are familiar with Eric's personal work, I think you can also get the watercolor quality from it. So it's not so much of shading or light and shadows, but more using the local values to separate like each pieces. Yeah, so it's more like a abstract, simplified version, but it just don't provide us the reality, sense of reality that you feel like you can enter the world and then have the immersive experience with it. We had like many rounds of trying to find the right style that we both like. At the beginning, we were, like aiming for those graphic flat ones, but it just really don't have the quality to match, how heavy the story is. So we decided to go with a more 3D dimensional look. That's what you see as it is right now. I think for reference, we looked at a lot of like photos from Asian buildings. For example, we searched Asian Greek architectures, and then we also looked at all those Asian Chinese temples and a lot of Japanese architecture. We don't really want to lock us into a certain culture, so we were like basically throwing into the reference pool of everything we found that could be inspiring. I think one of Erick already mentioned all those, the mural painting, all those Asian master did. And then also some modern artists too. We looked at like the game concept art as well for the fiction world or all those fantasy world. Yeah, I think lighting the character is like pretty interesting decision because we don't have the 3D resources to, turn on a light on the model and then make everything looks cohesive, right? So we actually have to hand paint it in lights for each character. We did that in Photoshop and also with the help from composers. I think how we solve the problem is that we ask animators to provide the whole area that the characters will be appearing on, and then we mastered the whole trace out, and then applied alpha channel and then hand painted in the light in Photoshop. So that's why like every character travel to a different section with different lighting will react to that lighting. So if it's a warm light, they look warmer, and if it's a dark area, they look darker. Yeah, I think it's a lot of trouble, but I'm glad that we solved the problem.
When it comes to filmmaking, I think the overall sound and audio and music and versus image and visual, it's 50-50 percentage. Music can save the piece and kill the piece. That's how I really, really deeply care about the music. So Andrew Vernon, my longtime buddy, he's been working on several pieces of mine, and then this one is solely him. Like sound design and composing and music, everything's from him, which is incredible. So I'll say it's hard to come down to any number, but 70% I already had in my mind, like the designing the world and borrowing some musical elements to support the emotional arc. But from the certain point on, it was very organic process. We were trying this and that and we had one version that was a little too music oriented, and then we went to the stage where it's kind of harming instead of supporting the visual. So we ended up taking everything out, but then so finding the balance between how much music we went in or not was one of the challenges, and also part of the fun as well. But one bottom line is we need music to tie everything up together though, because there are so many things happening visually, also audio design wise. We need music to guide people in the audience to fully digest the storyline.
Yeah, I really hope people can zoom in and look into the details, because we really put a lot of thinking and love to it. Like each section on its own is actually already like a short film. So it's like, 12 short film together. You've got time to follow each character and really experience the world.
Definitely something, I mean, I'm sure that people will be able to see it, but something that has a lot to do with what's really facing in this reality, especially in American society. Last year we were suffering from Black Lives Matters movement, and this year we are suffering from Asian hate crimes and stuff. So there are certain sections that's really only talking about the racism and being discriminated just because you're different. There are characters who are being abused and imprisoned and getting executed, exiled on the guillotine just because you have different colored heads. Of course, here in the color doesn't really just mean stand for ethnicities. It stands for any type of differences, different thoughts, ideologies. Just only because you're different, you are being abused. So that area is something I love the audience to take away, because it is conveying something very important and real message to us in modern times. Yeah, that's one of the areas. It's really part of me, I guess, as a filmmaker. I mean, I really believe in the power of humor and playfulness. If even more when you are talking about something very serious and something that's really deep and profound. And I think I can open audience's heart even wide open, utilizing something that's charming and much more adorable or fun or cute or you name it. That's why here and there, not prominent at all, but it's almost like an Easter egg. There are some funny moments and some humorous moments here and there, again, to really support the message of opera. I think it's going to make a positive impact to the community and industry. Like filmmakers like myself or artists will be inspired to do something different. Like they are, okay, wow, Academy is really encouraging artists to think out of the box. And in the audience as well, they will really learn that, oh, the only Pixar Disney animations were the only animation. There could be something else, right? So at the end of the day, hopefully this becomes a really, really a positive message and impact to the industry and community.
I think this piece is timeless, actually. I feel like it's a circle of life and a circle of our society. I think at each age, like people will find things like relatable. And I hope they do in the future too.
Yeah, 100 years later. So the way I see opera is a contemporary version of mural paintings that's been done in mid-age, a long 100 years ago. And then what we are trying to say here is something that's transcendent, that doesn't really focus on particular period of time. No matter who you are, where you are, which civilization or culture, whenever you are, I try to design something that's very universal and that could be applicable to different stages and in our human society. So there has been always religious conflicts and political conflicts, and of course the terrorism war. I think that have been in part of our. It's not just something that's existing in modern society. It's been always cycling the whole. Yeah. So hopefully 100 years later, I think two things, I guess. One is, of course, people will study this time of 2020, what happened there? Oh, actually that happened. Oh, COVID. And then there's numerous things about racism and stuff, and then pollutions and natural disasters. But at the same time, that could also relate this to some of the old mural paintings I mentioned, because even if I see them, of course, what their outfit, the costume are different, but they still touch upon humanity. They still touch upon what's really underneath in the core of who we are. So I think what opera is trying to do is trying to throw questions to us. This is where we are. This is reflection of what we are like, but then is it just the end of the world? Maybe not. How can we better? How can we make our lives better than this? So the end goal is to, create this hopeful message. But I don't think the piece itself is spoon feeding the message of hope. It's up to the audience who finds the hope out of this message the opera is giving us.